This is Dean. I'm working with George and Malcolm on the Twitch SDC project, and I'm working on the carousel component. So far, we have been tasked to get 10 million records into the database. So the front end was already built in the previous FEC phase, and right now we're strengthening the server side. So getting the 10 million records is actually much harder than originally thought it would be. The app itself comes with MySQL. So I started with that, and I also wanted to compare the performance of MySQL with Postgres and Mongo. Given I don't have much experience with Postgres, there will be really, I find it pretty interesting to explore more. And I also want to explore a bit more about non-relational database. That's why I kind of wanted to try out the three. So I started with MySQL, given that's what originally came with the app, and I started with just like some simple for loops to see how things go, and I was only able to get up to 13K data in before running into the JavaScript heap error. Then after doing some research, I find that you can increase the space size. So I bump it up all the way up to 12,000. And I was able to get all the 10-minute records in under 15 minutes. So I was thinking, yeah, maybe I can like use the same logic for Mongo. But then I run into a lot of async issue. So my guess for that is, so my data is a lot of my data is generated from Vicker. So my guess is the data writes to Mongo faster than the data comes back from Vicker. So in the data that got written to my Mongo database, it only contains the creation time and the row index, which it drops a lot of other columns that requires calling Faker. So with that, I added in async awake, which resolved the async issue, but then it took a long time, around like 45 minutes to seed the 10 million records. So I wasn't too happy with the seeding time, so I looked into other options of getting the data in, and I was trying out using importing CSV. So with the new CSV option, I was able to get the data in Mongo in 7 minutes, which I think is pretty good. And I was able to use the same CSV and import that into Postgres as well in around 4 minutes. So the 10 million records is now there, and also got a chance to upload them to EC2, which is good. Then it moves to the fun part where I was trying to choose the database. So between the three, I use a spew test query, but most of them are because most of the test query is trying to see based on the sorting performance, which retrieve the data the fastest. So my app requires to sort based on view count and also the creation time. So I have I think three sample query to test each of the database, and each of them requires sorting ascending in ascending and descending order with both variables combined, so the view count and creation time, or just one of them. So to get some baseline, I started with Postgres. It was around like 39 seconds. For MySQL, it was around 45. And for Mongo, it took more than 5 minutes. So that was a bumper. Then I looked into some optimization technique. And for each of the database, I created a separate index. And I was able to get the query time down significantly, especially for Mongo. So from 5 minutes query time, I was able to get it under a second. So the query time was 0.43 milliseconds, which I think is pretty impressive for the amount of improvement. And I think that's because the compound index that I created in Mongo actually was able to hold both keys, so both the view count as well as the creation time. So with that, my final database choice was Mongo. Even though Postgres gives a faster seeding time, my thinking here is because you only seed your script once, and you will be keep sending GET requests to the server to retrieve data. So I kind of want to prioritize the query response time instead of the seeding time. The next step for us is to put the data into add in new relic, and I'm also gonna look into caching. I think there was some good skill to learn, and that seems pretty interesting. Thank you.